Here we go. All I gotta do is find my copy. What's this called? All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Who's not here? Bryce, if you're watching later, the test has been postponed until Friday. Bryce, if you go on, who else is absent? Bryce? If you're watching at home, the test is not till Friday. If you go on Classroom and you weren't here to get the crossword puzzle, it's posted there, so hopefully you can print that off. If none of that works for you, then we'll work something out. You can take the test next week sometime, but the test is now Friday. Here we go. Number 2 across. Now remember, when I call on you, you have to give me, I might ask you for more than the answer. I might ask you a follow-up question like, why is that the answer? Or, hey, why is that on the crossword? What do you remember in class about that word? Ready? A society of shared culture with cities. When historians look back and they try to, like, how did they say that this Sumerians were a particular blank, or the Amorites were a particular blank? Civilization, right? A civilization is when they look back and they see patterns of artifacts and stories and written documentation. They're like, hey, these people spoke the same or similar language. These people shared the way they eat. They ate, I mean, today, chopsticks, silverware, right? There's different ways people live their lives, and when you find a group that are close by each other, and there's evidence that they gathered in close quarters, like tried to develop a city. Obviously not New York or Tokyo or Mexico City, right? But a semblance of a city was evident. We call that a civilization. All that to say this: who was the first civilization? Sorry. He was the first one to develop an empire. The Sumerians. Does that mean there were no other people on Earth at that time? No. Sumerians happened to be the first civilization that we looked at and we go, hey, these people are all sharing a culture. They developed somewhat of a city. There were people all over, right? It's just that's the one that we've found so far that qualifies as a civilization. I won't take this long, everyone. We won't get done. Number 3 across, the dispersion of Jews. There's a special word for that.
3 down.
Oh, I'm sorry, 4 across. Thank you very much. Good job. If the coach calls in a certain play and he gets one number wrong, it messes everything up.
That's how I got into it.
Are you serious? Yeah.
Diaspora.
The diaspora. What's the point there? Lauren, why was there a dispersion of Jews?
I don't know.
Anybody know? Where is that in your notes? What happened there? Why is there such event called the diaspora? Yeah.
Their language mixed.
That's Tower of Babel. They were scattered then, but yeah. Okay, Jerusalem fell apart. Jerusalem was defeated, right? That's when the Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar defeated Jerusalem and took some back to Babylon, others scattered, the diaspora. Next, number 6 across, center of trade for Syrians. By the way, I guess in order to answer this one, you would have had to find that little tidbit in your notes where the Arameans were known as Syrians. Before the Assyrians, there were Syrians, the Arameans, and what was their main city? It's a city that it would take me about a half an hour to get to, not a city. A town in our area would take about a half hour to get there from here. Raise your hand.
Come on,
Rachel. Damascus. And by the way, Damascus is one of those, there's like 5 or 6 cities that try to say that we were the first city. And Damascus tries to lay claim to that, although I don't believe so. Anyway, refuge for Jacob's family. Raise your hand. What place is a refuge for Jacob? Yeah, Owen.
Egypt.
Egypt. Significance?
No.
What's the significance as far as us as not just historians, but Christian historians? Why is it significant to us? Why is it not ironic, but significant that Egypt would be a place of refuge for Jacob's family, Jacob, who becomes known as Israel. So why would that be significant for us? Because Egypt often in the Bible is kind of juxtaposed to Israel as here's God's people, here's sinful people, right? A place of sin. But they were a refuge for God's people. Blank the Great. Cyrus the Great. What was his big moment? Well, he had a lot of big moments because he had a big empire. What was his big moment according to our point of view as Christians or Jewish people, supporters of the Israelites?
He conquered the Medes and the Lydians and established the vast empire by 536 BC.
But what about us? Go on. Something in there that pertains to Israelites. Cyrus the Great, he did. He built this huge empire. That's why it's called Cyrus the Great. But what did he do that relates to us as Christians when we look at our history or the history of God's people, where we get grafted into the family of God through the nation of Israel? He's the one that allowed them to go back to rebuild the temple. Okay? Not necessarily that that's going to be on the test, but for your knowledge. Because you're not just doing this for the test, right, Karina? Karina comes to school not just to try to get good grades on a test, or makes her feel better, mom feel better, and possibly a scholarship down her. No, she likes to learn. Those are kind of Tampa Bay colors. Is that a Tom Brady shirt?
No.
Oh.
It's
All right.
so
I know, but it's kind of Tampa Bay colors. All right, here we go. Number 12, a great Sumerian invention.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, the wheel. It is widely believed that the Sumerians invented the wheel. And we noticed that, hey, that kind of makes sense. Their number system was based on not 10, but 60. They're the ones that figured out there were how many degrees in a circle.
360.
So it only makes sense that they would come up with the wheel, right? All right, number 13, wedge-shaped impressions. How do we communicate? We use an alphabet. We use a language based on an alphabet. They used cuneiform. Sorry, I called it twice there, last three. Man's state. Now, someone might have looked at that clue and said, what? Man's state? Like Alabama? You mean Ohio? What? In this case, the word state means condition. What is man's condition? Fallen. Fallen. Man's condition, man's state is fallen. Why is that on there? Who answered that?
I answered it.
Why is that on there? Why is it important for us as history students to note that man is in a fallen state?
Because we're fallen image bearers.
Right, that's right out of the notes. Good job. And Drew, because we're fallen image bearers, it helps Alina and I, we look at history and we're like, how stupid were those? How stupid were those people? You ever look back at history and you're like, what were they thinking, right? All these bad things that happened? Well, hindsight's, didn't we go this 2020, it's easy to always look back and, whoa, we can see perfectly. You shouldn't have let that happen. But we are not perfect. Even the best of people, even King David, right? Only perfect person that ever lived was Christ. Next, takes Jerusalem in 586 BC. Nice long name. Did you spell it right? I tried to tell you how I learned to spell it. Make sure I spell it right. Lauren?
Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar. Yes, Nebuchadnezzar. Blanks of Lebanon. Zoe. The Cedars of Lebanon. Cedars of Lebanon. That area, those people called the Phoenicians who settled on the, ooh, got the map there now. Where's my total? Phoenicians, right in here, along the east coast of the Mediterranean. They're the ones that came up with the purple dye, right? They're the ones that were able to get rich and be a trading center, and they had what everybody wanted, that purple dye. Well, today, that is Lebanon, and they're known for their incredible cedars, those trees. Study of space. Rachel. As opposed to, what's another word that's almost like it, but we have to make sure that we know the difference. Right. Which one is perfectly fine? Which one of those words is perfectly fine as a Christian? Astronomy or astrology? What? Are you serious?
No, that's what it is.
Paige.
Astronomy.
Astronomy. It's perfectly fine. In fact, profitable to study the stars in the universe and to see and to remind yourself what an incredible God to create like a universe that seems limitless to us, right? Astronomy, that's the study of that. Astrology is taking that creation and creating some mythical idea that the position of the celestial bodies somehow is what directs our fate. Not Almighty God himself, who's sovereign over all, that the stars direct our fate somehow. We don't look to the stars, we look to the one who made those stars. Next, I'm taking it you were joking, saying you were both okay. Next, 25, built Great Pyramid of Giza. Who built that pyramid? Khufu. The great pharaoh Khufu, which of course, he would have been a ruler in the old kingdom known as the age of pharaohs. The great pharaoh Khufu. By the way, if you watch TV at all, well, you probably don't watch the same things I do. Your generation doesn't watch TV as much as my generation or whatever. You're mostly streaming and stuff, but if you watch any news stations, chances are, if you're, because the types of families we have at Heartland, that you're probably not watching CNN. I don't know, but there's a commercial on all the time, every day, and it's that guy, the Mr. Pillow guy. And what's the sheets made of? What are the sheets made of?
They only find it in one place.
Where?
In Brazil.
No! No! It's not Brazil. Guess where it's at? No!
Here.
Come on! You got my pillow.
Here.
Where? No, I just asked you to, listen, the Great Pyramid of Giza. Who built it? Khufu.
Oh.
What's the pyramid called? Giza. Where do they find this Giza cotton?
Egypt.
Yes! Down here in Egypt. Next time you see the commercial now, he'll show it. He'll show the map, and next time you see it, you'll pay attention. Go, oh yeah, it's right there in Egypt. And look, the name of the pyramid way back then was Giza, and this cotton's called Giza. Interesting. I spent too much time on that, but now when you see it, you'll be like, oh. Listen, take it as an opportunity to show your parents how much you're paying attention. We just talked about that in world history today. The Giza sheets, right there. Khufu. All right, Southern Egypt. What was I looking for there? What fits in there? My clue was just Southern Egypt. Yeah. Upper. Remember, we kind of made a big deal about Upper Egypt. The highlands are actually in the south. That's all that was. Please. Next, Tigris and Euphrates. There's practice spelling Euphrates. And now they're upset because you're just spouting off. Next. Oh, by the way, Tigris and Euphrates, those are two major rivers that in between them, is that on here?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do that. All right, blank prayer. You had to have the S on the end for it to fit. So it Hezekiah's, and you couldn't put the apostrophe in there. Apostrophes don't work well on crossword puzzles. I guess you could make it work if you made sure that 2 words. In the blank, comma, God. What? Alec? In the beginning, right? That's we know from when we study history as Christians, we know this. There was a beginning. And in that beginning, God created, right? So that's why that's on there. By the way, Karina, leads me to another thought. What sport do you think I like the most? Based on your knowledge, you've only known me for 2 years, what sport do you think is my favorite? How'd you know that? Because we're in football season. Very good. So baseball is my favorite sport, and guess what? I'm so happy to have heard that baseball is in the Bible.
It is.
Yep. It's right there in the beginning. In the beginning.
Oh, I got it.
Drew, did you ever hear? You already heard that one before.
What?
Baseball's in the Bible.
Yeah.
It's right there in the beginning.
Hmm.
In the beginning. In the beginning.
I like
That's
that.
lame. Oh, is that lame? In the beginning. All right, number 30, the most brutal, cruelest of conquerors. Perhaps in world history, these people were bad.
Did you just call her Abigail?
I do this with names all the time.
Is there some?
No, go ahead.
Assyria.
Assyrians, 2 S's. Number 1 down, Egyptian picture writing. Sawyer. Hieroglyphic. Did you put the I before E or E before I? I before E. And it had to be, right? You had to spell it right for it to work out. Number 3, Mizraim's grandpa. Owen?
Noah.
Noah. Number 5, all-knowing. Lauren.
Omniscient.
Omniscient. God is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipotent. It covers omnipotent. Omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. Number 7, land between the rivers.
Oh, yeah.
See? Maddie.
Mesopotamia.
Mesopotamia literally means land between rivers. Big deal. There are some people that you would read that would say, hey, where was the Garden of Eden physically on the earth? And they would point to that Fertile Crescent, that land between the rivers that was so lush with vegetation that they, some, whatever, think that it was there. Belief in many gods. Page.
Polytheism.
Polytheism, because many is poly. 700 miles long.
You missed the one.
Oh, who established the first empire?
Yes. Yes.
Yes,
Sargon.
Sargon of Kish. By the way, who in the Bible do you know was also of Kish? Trivia question. Some great name in the Bible was known as a man of Kish.
I don't know.
Like a good person, like a bad person in the Bible.
Yes.
What? Yes, what?
I know. At first, good.
Oh, wait. Oh, never mind.
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought you meant at first bad. I thought it was Paul. I thought it was Saul and Paul.
What is the name?
You're so close, you don't even know how close you are. Huh?
You said Saul.
Which Saul?
I don't know.
King Saul, the first king of Israel.
Yeah,
The first king of Israel, Saul, was good. In fact, if you had him in 5th grade, you remember, speaking of Karina, in 5th grade I made a big deal about when the Israelites wanted a king, and God said no, and then they said please, and he told Samuel, okay, they keep, give them what they want. I tried to warn them, if you have a king, this is what's going to happen. So he gave him a king. You know what he gave him? Saul, this man of standing. Tall, dark, and handsome Saul. Strong. I compared him to Tom Brady back in 5th grade. Remember that? I said, if the Israelites could have voted for who would be their first king, they would have voted for Saul. It would have been a no-brainer. Saul walked in the room, everybody's like, who is that? So he gave him Saul. And it ended up not being very good, did it? Saul went against God's plan. All right. Where am I? 700 miles long. See if I get it right this time. I know it starts with an A. Elena, go ahead.
The Nile.
The Nile River. Are we looking for the Nile? Or just Nile? Pharaoh during the plagues. Who do we believe was the Pharaoh during the plagues? Moses said to this man, let my people go. Part of the reason you're not raising your hands is because you don't know how to pronounce it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amenhotep.
Amenhotep. Amen. Hot F.
You can tell you're laughing at that.
I'm not laughing.
There's no boy's named F. All right. Next. Man-made objects. Elena.
Artifacts.
Yes. Defeated the Sumerians and established Babylon. So basically the second civilization that we studied. Lauren.
Amorites.
The Amorites. Extended Persia all the way to Greece. Right at the end of the notes. Who extended Persia all the way to Greece? Owen? Darius.
Yay.
And his code had 282 laws. Some people in history compare this man to Moses, because we know Mosaic law. These people were living according to the laws of another man. We know that we weren't really living. We know the Israelites weren't really living according to Moses' law. It was the law given to Moses.
Hammurabi.
Hammurabi, either one. And known for their iron weapons, which gave them great advantage over their enemies, rivals. Elena.
Hittites.
The Hittites. I think I told you that for most of my life, there were people, non-biblical scholars and archaeologists were trying to argue that the Hittites never even existed. Until, lo and behold, they had to eat those words because they found evidence of the Hittites. Which happens a lot. Happens a lot when, as enough time is afforded, people that try to prove the Bible to be untrue end up proving it to be true. People that try to convince themselves and others, gentlemen, that the Bible isn't true, so they go on this journey and they're dead set on proving that there is no way the Bible is true, and after some honest reflection and intellectual honesty, they come out of it like, oh man, it is true, and they become Christians. And they were dead set on proving it wasn't true. It's awesome, isn't it, Brody? Any questions? Test is Friday, not tomorrow. Now listen, this crossword puzzle is to serve as a study guide. You study your notes. Here's how I think it works. This is my really honest, my honest opinion. When I make a test, I try to make it so that if you showed up to class, took notes, listened, did the study guide, studied realistically, studied an hour total, that there's a almost 100% chance you're going to pass the test. I try to make the test so that there's a couple questions that might not be on here. First of all, I only have 30 options on here. The crossword puzzle maker online that I use only has 30 answers. So there's probably going to be, I got to look at it. Plus I have to review last year's test, see if I'm going to use the same one. But usually there's like 33-ish questions on my test, 3 points each if you're good at math. If it's a bigger test, it might be closer to 50, so then they're 2 points each. If it's a smaller test, it might be 25, so they're 4 points each. Can you do all that math in your head? So usually about 33 questions, so you can count on 3 points each. And there's only 30 things I can put on there. Well, most of the other questions would be offshoots of what's on there. Got it?
Yep.
Any questions about anything we covered so far? Now it's just a matter of studying. Did anybody make a Quizlet? You did?
Yeah.
Are these people invited to it?
Sure.
You haven't yet?
No, I made it, but I didn't invite any of the
Okay. So you don't have to. You don't have to. Or you don't have to. But usually every class has 1 or 2 that does that. No pressure. You don't have to. The only thing I would say, Lauren, is please do this. If you invite a few, please don't invite a few and not let everybody.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Who wants to invite?
I don't know.
It's, you can use your Mac, you can use it for not studying.
I don't want to.
It makes sense.